It's Monday morning here in Lagos. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the program. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. It was a busy weekend politically as we saw more consultation along the lines of individuals who have shown interest in the forthcoming general election. And we also saw governors of the APC meeting at the Kebbi State Government House in Abuja, talking issues, particularly the National Convention of the All Progressives Congress. We're told now that they are of the opinion that the February date is sacrosanct, and we now look forward to the decision of the caretaker committee and Mr. President's verdict in this regard. And if you check the front page of the papers, it's all about the crucial meeting and the parley on zoning, on convention. The Vanguard, for instance, is talking about 16 APC governors and Make Omar meeting, and there are talks about the need to ensure that the APC doesn't avoid the PDP's mistakes, whatever that means. However, there are also elections forthcoming in 2022, even before the general one next year. We're looking forward to development in Osun and in Ekiti. In Ekiti, for instance, it's only about 10 days to the APC's governorship primary election, and we'll be looking into details of all of that also in the course of the program this morning. However, as we speak in Abuja, preparations are in top gear for the Support Groups Management Council for former Lagos State Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and they are talking about the need to harmonize activities of all of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu support group in ensuring that they work together for the same purpose. Sometime last week, a few days ago, we saw the former governor intimating Mr. President about his intent to run, and it was the first time publicly we would hear him give voice to what appears to be the biggest political secret rather, in the outgone year. Well, we now know that the former governor wants to run, and quite a number of groups have also come up to show support for that particular clarion call. We'll be linking up for that live event in the course of this program, but note that our programming continues. You can watch it on our international channel. You can also watch a recap on YouTube later on in the course of the day. But as we begin to open countdown, particularly to the 2023 general elections, there are quite a number of things that are being talked about. But I'll take you to Abuja in a minute, where the exhibition has kick-started. The theme for the program would be the imperative of grassroots mobilization and volunteering in a democracy. The venue is the International Conference Center, and it's all about, you see a former member of the House of Representatives, Abdulmumeni Jibrin, who is, of course, in charge of the exhibition, talking about mobilizing and harmonizing activities of all the Bola Ahmed Tinubu support groups to ensure that they come together under one umbrella and work towards the intent of their principle. We'll match audio with the video subsequently in the course of the program. However, the exhibition is about highlighting the achievements of the former governor as a governor in Lagos State for 8 years, and I believe that they're also talking about the importance of rallying support for Asiwaju ahead 2023 general election. We're going to get back to Abuja in the course of this conversation and also bring you pictures from the ongoing event. They call it the Support Group Conference, which is to harmonize the activities of all the support groups, as we have seen in time past. Well, a lot is happening in the studio as I speak. My guest is just walking in case you're seeing pictures of that, and we're getting ready for this conversation. However, we'd love to begin with what appears to be the biggest news on the papers today, and it has to do with the meetings of the APC governors. About 16 of them met in Abuja over the night, and top on the list of their conversation is the much talked about National Convention of the All Progressives Congress. There were talks about whether this convention was going to be postponed and whether or not the party has enough time to come up with a convention, particularly knowing that a 21-day window is needed to be able to inform the Independent National Electoral Commission about its intent to hold a convention. And what has also been the resolution? What has the party done thus far in ensuring that its reconciliation effort aftermath the state congresses is also very intact? I'm joined on the show this morning, ladies and gentlemen, by a former House of Reps, Honorable Bimbo Daramola just walked into the studio. Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning. How are you?
Must have been a terrific time trying to find your way here.
No, I actually could make my way, but then you know these things about Lagos traffic. It could be very unpredictable, and then sometimes the devil gets on the road.
This is Lagos.
This is Lagos. I mean, one of the things I miss out of Abuja.
I understand.
But again, I mean, I think the governor is doing a lot of stuff, and the road culture and ethics is getting better. It was relatively free from the airport coming out through to CMD Road and all of that. But I think the culture is getting better. People are not just picking up people off the road just like that and keeping everybody
That's right.
as if they own the road. So it's nice to be back here.
The good thing is you're here. Happy New Year, Honorable.
Good to see you.
Congressman, good to see you. And a lot has changed. The last time I saw you, you didn't have the white beards. Are you growing older, or this is the new brand for you?
Well, this is Gen Z.
It's all right. So let's begin with the meeting of the APC governors over the night. They are saying that, well, the party should go ahead with the national convention in February. How sacrosanct is that?
Well, I believe, the last time they met with the president, he gave them marching as he was clear about it. People felt that, this was becoming one postponement too many, At different times, they asked for 6 months, they asked for another 6 months, and it's almost becoming like caretaker is becoming the landlord.
The substantive.
Yeah, so I believe very strongly that it's about, let's just get this done and out of our way, and then face very strongly what will appear to be.
The challenge, however, is how united is the party ahead in national convention?
Well, that also will be one of the things on the table for the party managers particularly, and then for members of the party to also see the fact that we're better off together than in splinters, and also to also see that the bigger picture is Nigeria and Nigerian people. And if we claim and tout progressivism, there must be ways to be able to bring, to come to the approach more, and then to get contending hands of the sticks together to be able to get some resolution out of this.
Just before you walked in, we were taking live pictures from the International Conference Center in Abuja, where the Support Groups Management Council is now organizing itself to rally around all the different support groups for Asiwaju ahead of the 2023 general election. Yeah. Well, it's no longer news that Asiwaju wants to run for president, and you're not also alien to the Lagos politics. How is Ekiti responding to this?
Well, Ekiti is responding very well, no doubt about it. Of course, you know of Swagger, you know of some other people who have not showed up. But I think the response of the people to a man like Asiwaju also seems to be very inspiring. It will come across like something that everybody seems to be looking forward to. A whole lot of things will happen in the days ahead, and I believe very strongly that now that he's already unveiled it, that he's going to run. And I've seen a lot of fairy darts coming at him as well, so and he should expect more of that. But Asiwaju is somebody who wears a breastplate to be able to shield and ward off everything. So the days ahead will be very interesting.
You are quite experienced yourself, a member of the House of Reps in 2011. You attempted to return. I mean, you understand the politicking and what they call the ongoing consultation. Maybe you should educate us.
Well, you know that aspiring to become the president of Nigeria is not a child's play. You will expect that there are different constituencies, and I don't mean literary constituencies like that. There are individuals, there are groups of people, there are bodies, there are organizations that you have to run this by them. They consider it very insulting if you don't reach out, if you don't talk to them. I mean, they feel that, oh yes, you're pig-headed, you're not deepening your reach enough. So ahead of your formal declaration, whether as a governor or as a president, you must touch base back again with, you know, which is one of the things that my preferred candidate for that election in Ekiti has been doing, Senator Michael Opembamidele. You must, it's a must. You must speak to different constituencies and let them know, you know, for the ones who already know, share with them the new vision. For the ones who do not know, let them know that this is what to expect, and then they can begin to measure and look at your reputation and look at your profile and see, okay, does this guy look like a guy who can get the job done? You know, so that's why politicians always consult.
We'll talk about the Ekiti politics in a short while, but we've also seen you stuck with your party even when it did not favor you.
Which one?
I mean, you. I'm talking about you now.
Okay, yes,
I mean, how you have stuck with your party over the years. But you heard the president in a televised interview recently talking about the fact that the party may lose its chances of retaining power in 2023 if the underlying issues around the convention were not resolved. The biggest challenge has always been whether politicians are going to hold on even when it doesn't favor them. And you seem to have experience in that light where you aspired to be governor, I think in what year was that? 2018.
Yes.
But then you stuck with the party even when it didn't go your way.
Oh yeah. Well, it speaks to character, that's number one. Then number two, the circumstances for you to want to jump ship would have to be ideological. It's not going to be a flight of fantasy. It must be something rooted in conviction that everybody can see that you've been done wrong. You know, for me, I mean, I decided to get myself engaged with some other things, and but let me say this to you, matter of fact, politics is a serious thing. It's not a sport. It's quantitative by extension, meaning that you can measure the impact of politics, and anything short of that, you know, you will just be appealing to self. I believe very strongly that in the days leading up to 1983, when I became politically sensitive, one of the things that people look out for to give you respect and regard is how much of contributions you have made to a party. And it is not even about political parties alone. If you join a club today and somebody had been in that club in the past 5 years and the person does not have any tangible contributions, that person can never aspire to his position over and above a very fervent person. And what that seeks to do is that, you know, the Bible says out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. You know, everybody can speak who can validate what you have said by your reputation. That's the issue. And so for me, I have said a lot of things about APC. I've put my life on the line for APC. I have climbed fence for APC. I have said all kinds of things for APC. But a friend of mine used to put, you're not the father of APC, you know. But you see, there is the politics of the belly and there is the politics of the heart, you know. And I have a great pleasure as we speak on this show to begin to tell you about one man that I know has politics residing in his heart, not for self, for anything else. So the regional dimension of that is that let us begin to separate the wheat from the chaff. If we must move Nigerian politics to where it is not partisanship for self-actualization, for pecuniary purposes, then the distinctions must be made. And it must be able to go through it a fine-tooth comb and then be able to sift the people who want to live on and buy politics and people who really want to use politics as a vehicle for service. And that is the kind of guy that...
Where political parties may differ from clubs would be that even though you'll see that it's one thing to stay with a party, but the interest is also very key.
Yes.
I mean, from one governor to the other, it appears that the power play differs, and then who calls the shots also, you know, vary in due time. But how optimistic are you about the APC staying together? We saw how they formed, you know, a unity along party lines in 2015. How optimistic are you that the party will still remain one after its national convention?
Nife, can I tell you something? Adversity could be very beautiful. Prosperity has inherent in it everything, the seed of destruction. With adversity, everybody just marshals their strength, their energies in one goal, in one direction, to one goal and one direction. But get prosperous. Oh, I want to ride a better car than yours. I want to have a bigger house than yours. The beauty of adversity was what brought APC into power. Everybody said, okay, you guys, we have one motive. And that was what brought Dr. Fayemi to power in 2010. You know, and again in 2018 when he got into that position, it was the same power of adversity. That's my coinage now. Power of adversity put him in the saddle. But what do you do with moments of prosperity? Do you begin to isolate yourself and cocoon yourself and see yourself as a champion, and in spite and despite every other person who's attempted to put their hands together? Now, in the days that I have learned a few things about this politics. You know, after 2018, I said to myself, I was done with this. I wasn't going to touch it anymore. I am not a professional politician. I don't live on and by politics. I chose very clearly on the basis of the fact that politics provides for you an opportunity to do a whole lot of good works beyond what you can do within your personal precincts. And when you step out into the fray and you go ahead to give all of your effort to this and nobody seems to recognize that, then, well, a drowning man sometimes doesn't need help. You know, if you try to take him out of where he's drowning, this pond or this river or something like that, and it's going to take you down with it, let me tell you, one of the things that people must address in this country is the politics of succession and the management of that. It would be of interest to you to note that if there's a common denominator between the man who is leaving that seat and the will of the people, mark my words, if a man who is transiting from power and is thinking of who succeeds him, if his intention is noble and lofty and in harmony with everybody else, or particularly a sizable number of the population, there won't be crisis.
However, what we also say
because the indices will be clear to everybody.
Absolutely.
The ethos will be clear to everybody. The creed will be, so it is easy to get everybody to say, okay, we are routing for Mr. A.
But by
on the
everybody,
basis of their identity, not...
Are you talking about party members or the generality of the people?
No, the first and foremost, parties bring you into position. You can't run as an independent candidate. And of course, political parties, by their construct, should have specific litmus test bound realities that will let you know that, oh, this man is APC, this man is PDP. But today, what do you get? You go to bed with your pajamas as PDP, and when you're going to share, when you're walking out of that same door, you're wearing...
But you have also walked that path before.
I have not.
I learned that you were in PDP.
I wasn't in PDP. Okay, fine. This is... okay, fine. This is the gist. Incidentally, I left the campaigns of Asiwaju Tinubu on the 12th of December 1998 because he approved of something that I felt will impact that campaign, and some people felt, no, we know Asiwaju before, you know, you're a small boy and all of those things. So I took a walk. And I remember that the then young man, Raul Faregbeshola, called me back and said, don't go. Why? But then I just felt that this wasn't a place where I could express myself. This was 1998, just here, Sunday Adigun, number 13. And then I left. I went to meet Kenny Martins on Adeni Jones. I said, I have this idea and it's good to move the campaigns forward. And he said, come show it to General. He used to call Obasanjo General. So come show it to General. So we rode in his car to Otta and we went to General Obasanjo. And then when I showed that proposal to General Obasanjo, he took my hand like this and put it in the hands of Ugochukwu Onyema, who was the DG of the campaigns, and said, we must make this happen. You know, and then we took the ideas. So I became acquainted to a man who represented the PDP at that level. You know, it wasn't like I was a card-carrying member. Indeed, when the first set of the cards of PDP members going to Ekiti State were produced, they were given to Chief Ropo Adesonya, and 20 of those cards were reserved from me. And I just said,
you pick one?
No, I didn't pick one.
Okay.
I just said, okay, I didn't have any issues with the PDP of 1998 because for all I care, I wanted a nation that worked. We wanted to send the military back to the barracks. And the assemblage, the rich assemblage of people behind the aspiration of the then President Olusegun Obasanjo, were people who, I mean, the Yoshiyus, the Abubakarimis, the Hajia from Kaduna who got shot, and all of these people. It was a rich assemblage of people who I bet had nationalistic view of what was to be done after post the military. So, but in the days to come, soon after that, I began to see that a few things were wrong. But for me as a person, I am a progressive, and I'm not saying progressive by paper. No. I used to, we didn't have pure water in those days when I used, as a small boy in 1983, when I would take very, very substantial part of my savings to buy water when Awolowo came to Ekiti through Ikare. And that's the reputation that I have. The same reputation that I had in ACN, the same reputation that took me from AC to ACN and to APC. I just give and give, but this is not about me today.
So since you're here, let's talk about Ekiti.
All right, sir.
And it's 2022, right? You know, it's just a matter of time before we know whether you're also still going to move from the APC to another party.
Well, I can tell
because
you,
I have had experience like that. You know, I speak with people, they speak passionately about their party, and then you wake up the next morning, the story is
now let me tell you where I
Yes.
differ. Let me tell you where I differ. If I were to move on impulse, I would have moved maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago.
But now you have a reason to move. The person you're supporting for governor
Yes.
ran on the platform of Labour Party.
Yes.
If it doesn't get a ticket, it's likely going to change party.
It's not going
It
to
has
have
a track record.
That's not track record. If you're going to jokes, and
Okay,
I've had this a number
there is a
of times.
previous experience.
Well,
in
he
that
had
regard.
done that before on the basis of a marked difference between the establishment and the status quo at the time. And he said one thing that was very instructive that people have not given him enough credit for. He said, my love for Ekiti people, it comes tops. For Ekiti and Ekiti people come tops. And if it will mean disagreeing with Asiwaju to make this happen, my mentor to make it happen, I will vote on the side of Ekiti people. That is honor.
So,
and that I will go back to my mentor and appeal to him. Has he not done that today? That is mark of honor.
but are you saying that if he doesn't get the ticket,
Yes.
that he will stay with the APC?
I reckon that he will. Again, this is a man who lives under the realization, heavy burden and realization of the fact that I probably wouldn't be alive today. And so, his aspiration.
He was shot as Director General of the
Yes. People, again, you know, when I look at these things, and I wish I'd come in much earlier so that we can share this a little bit more. Michael Okoyemi Bamidele, if you tell his story, it weighs more on the side of progressives than this brief stint of maybe less than a year of going to the Labour Party.
We'll get back to him in
Right.
a minute, but let's look at Ekiti generally.
Okay, sir.
It would appear that from the number of those that have obtained nomination and expression interest, and by the way, it's just about 10 days to your party's primaries.
Yeah.
It's like, unlike 2018, the battle for the APC ticket would not going to be a crowded contest. As of 2018, there were about 33 of them. We're just counting.
And yours truly was
You also, you know, threw your heart in the ring then.
Yes.
But there are just about 7 or 8 people this time. What do you think has changed?
Okay, fine. Number one, at the time in 2018, I guess people felt that Dr. Femi wasn't going to run. I met him 4 times, and 4 times he said he wasn't going to run. You know, and a number of people I think met him too. Today, I reckon that people feel that incumbent is an incumbent governor is going to be a little more tricky, and you know, to be able to upstage the interest of an incumbent governor. And that is where I doff my hat to toe, and for the guys who have thrown their hearts into the ring, who are really contestants and not pretenders. You know, and I am happy to tell you that Michael Okoyemi is one of the serious, extremely serious contenders with due deference to the political structure, to the establishment, to the system, and indeed to his friend and brother, the governor, the present governor. There is no reason on the table today for anybody to just begin. It's not a flight of fantasy for him, but a realization of the fact that God had saved me for a purpose and a time like this.
So there's a vigorous attempt by the party at the national level to reconcile grievances, you know, following the state congress. How is that working out in Ekiti?
Well, I'm going to be honest on this. The party will need to, the leaders of the party will need to quickly come to Ekiti. We have an election coming up in another maybe a couple of months, maybe 4 months or 5 months, June specifically. And of course, you know that swagger is all over the place in Ekiti right now. And you don't want a polarized party going to that election. And make no mistakes about it, PDP is on ground in Ekiti as well, you know.
You're saying the APC is polarized in Ekiti?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, maybe polarized is not the word, but then the divisions, the cracks are there. And they're opening up, they are gaping cracks, manifesting in such a way that people are pitching camps. Even apart from the civility of Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, apart from the absolute civility that he has displayed in the course of this election, even though people have said all kinds of things and that could make you feel that I can fight back. You know, I read something that one Victor Ogunje or something like that, I mean, wrote in This Day Today. It was a hatchet job. How can you tell me that a man with this kind of credential and that parades something that is over and above, and I say that modestly, you know, let me stick with the credentials of this man will make him a suitable material for presidency of this country. And so you now go to a newspaper like me this day and write things like he doesn't have an ambition, he's relying on the fact that he got shot. Who needs sympathy to win this election? There's a track record that's led up to this day. And if there's anybody who has that track record, it's Michael Opeyemi Bamidele, without doubt.
We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll look at the issues around agitation for zoning in Ekiti. We're assessing the political climb in 2022 ahead the big one next year. We're also keeping an eye on development at the International Conference Center in Abuja, where the Support Group Management Council for Asiwaju Tinubu is also holding what appears to be an harmonization exercise for all the support groups across the country. We'll be back with more after this break, as well as opening the phone lines for your participation. Stay with us. Hello everyone, thank you for staying the course. We're looking at issues around politics in Nigeria in 2022. Honorable Bimbo Daramola is a former member of the House of Reps. Thank you for staying the course on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we're looking at what they call the agitation for zoning in Ekiti, where you do grassroots politics. They are saying here that perhaps it is time for power to shift to the Ekiti South Senatorial District, which has not occupied the #1 seat since 1996. How viable is that argument?
Well, again, you know, on my honor, originally I routed for the Southern candidate, okay? And then my reason wasn't because it was a Southern candidate. It was because he had capacity to do the job and to get the job done. My brother, you know, you're not going to cure poverty from the zone because you're from one zone or the other. And if you go to our very dear state today, you see the challenges. And I posted something on Facebook today. I said, if your brother or your sister was a tailor in training, will you give him your wedding dress to make? You won't do that, you know. So if you won't give your wedding dress to your brother, you know, who is a tailor in training, then you must address the great issues of capacity, competence, and capability. You cannot negotiate that. And I was even supposed to attend one of their functions where I said, I would tell them that you're pitching it wrongly. You should pitch this and ask for equity. If you begin to say Southern agenda, you're already carving the state into geopolitical zones. Not only that, you're beginning to push an argument that will not stick. What do I mean? At what point in time did anybody get elected in Ekiti where any of the zones were told to stay back, idly back? And you can't be the first. Okay, now, how come this agenda only raises its head when it's election time? I would have expected, if they are very altruistic about this, and I said this to them in 2018, I mean, if this is driven by altruism, I will expect that that agenda should be holistic. It should cover economic agenda, it should cover social agenda, it should cover, for that zone, particularly considering the economic potentials that's very loaded in that part of Ekiti state. So why do you talk about Ekiti South agenda every one time that's an election cycle? So I felt that the base of the triangle should be widened a little bit. And
what happened to your initial support for a southern candidate?
Right. I belong to a group that that also had a lot of sentiment for Senator Adie, because for 3 years were shut out of the space in Ekiti State.
At some point you were suspended.
Oh, you will have said I was suspended, admitted, and suspended, and
resuspended.
Resuspended, you know. And you will ask, those are the kind of things that people would look at and say, are we serious at all? You know, and that's one of the things that Opeyemi Bamidele wants to hear. When he gets into the saddle, by the grace of God, he's not going to be bogged down by the fact that this guy was fielded by the governor's camp. Opeyemi does not have camp. There's no MOB camp. There is the camp of APC, as he says it. If you check the kind of statements that this guy has been making, I say that with due respect, this senator has been making with due respect, very broad-based, all-inclusive, all-engaging remarks that would drive the unity of the party so that the unity can deliver more, you know, over and above what we have today. Can you imagine a scenario where Ojudu got suspended, Ojo got suspended, Adie probably got suspended, Omire got suspended, who else? Some of the leading lights of the party who had served the party so well got suspended. The man who suspended me particularly, you need to check his track record in the world. This was a party where I had given all of myself, and they know it, you know. So I will expect that oh my God, I think that people should take a very, very clinical approach to deciding of who leads our state.
So at what point did you leave the southern camp?
Okay, fine. Well, what I thought was that Ekiti State APC stakeholders, that's what the group was called at that time, and all we did was agitating and saying that, oh, things could be done differently, oh, we cannot afford to do this, we cannot afford to do this, and we're labeled black sheep of the party, which was okay, you know, but we kept on and we held forth because we believed in the party. And then we elected him within that group for this position. Interestingly, I digress a little bit. Interestingly, Michael Opeyemi Bamidele said to me that he also would have felt that maybe I shouldn't have run if the establishment had fielded somebody from the South. Can you see a man of character? He's not driven by blind ambition, which is different from aspiration. What Opeyemi Bamidele has is aspiration and not ambition. Ambition is self. Aspiration is corporate, you know. So, but when the establishment decided that they were going to field somebody from the central, I felt that, hey, why not? You know, and then it came into the front. So for me as a person, at that point in time, the dynamics began to slip through, and I began to look at, are we as cohesive to be able to deliver on this aspiration as we earlier thought or not? For instance, one issue will be that if we're talking about an agenda, for instance, how come we have 3 candidates from the South running for this position? So why didn't you guys clean it up and come up? It would have been stronger. Now, if they go to this election, the votes from the 6 local governments of that central district would now have been divided between my brother and friend, Honorable Bamishile, former speaker, my colleague at the 7th House, Honorable Bamidele Fakbarusi, and then, of course, Senator Adie. How do you deal with that? If you could walk out naked, if you run out of your bedroom naked, were you expecting your gate man to come and wrap a towel around you?
When you said the establishment went for the central, who is the establishment? Because you and MOB share, you know, a common history.
Yes.
In 2014, you were the DG for the, you know, Fire Main Campaign Organization, and he was also the DG in 2018.
Yes.
What kind
of? He nearly paid the price of his life,
which was widely reported. What happened? You know, one would think that both of you share, you know, a strong history with Mr. Governor.
Yes, we do.
And that ahead governorship election, all of you should be together in one camp. That doesn't seem to be the situation now.
Well, it's not. You know, I said something before. Let's be clear about this. every one time that the wish of the leader or the establishment does not enjoy or seemingly enjoy the buy-in of a reasonable number of the stakeholders, it will come across like the leadership has appropriated the sovereignty of others. What do I mean? It's one of the easiest. It's for good reason that the provision also provides for consensus, direct primaries, indirect primaries, and all of that. And in an ideal situation, what the party will have envisaged and tolerated the most will have been consensus. It's cheaper, you have secured the buy-in of everybody, and everybody can go and say, I was a part of that decision. But if you feel that you get to a situation where you feel excluded from that decision-making process about who leads a state for the next 4 or 5 years, for the next 4 years, then people begin to feel that I am sovereign. It's not a personal property.
Hold that thought for a minute, Congressman. Ada's called in from Jos. Good morning, Ada.
Good morning to you. Yes, Ada calling from Jos Plateau State. APC. I'm just appealing to APC to address the issue of internal party democracy, because that is the issue. Even after having the convention, if you eventually have that convention, you know, so the people don't have more time again. In fact, we should start making hay while the sun shines. Otherwise, I wouldn't want you to be like the APC tablet. I used to know there is no more in circulation. You know, if you don't sort out whatever you want to sort out. So I reach a consensus. We need a vibrant opposition. Even if you don't win or you win, we still need a vibrant opposition. The two main political parties are PDP and APC. Then if you eventually zone your presidency to the south, if I had my way, I wouldn't mind you people having Zulu, the Borno State governor, as your running mate or vice or whatever. You know, that will help out. So please, people should go and do your homework and, you know, hit the ground running. We want two vibrant parties. If there's a third sport coming, well, so be it. But for now, it's only these two parties we know, and we know that the presidential candidate will emerge from either of these two, except there's a strong third sport, which I doubt would happen anytime soon. God bless this country. We should not give up on this country.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your contribution from Josh. She's referring to our earlier conversation about the National Convention. And so the president earlier on was of the opinion that, well, I'm not going to sign this document because of the clause that has to do with direct primary. And I heard you talk about consensus even being the cheapest form.
It is.
But all of these candidates, you know, I heard the Ekiti governorship election seem to be calling for a direct mode of primary.
Yes. Well, again, I speak for Senator Michael Opembamdele, who is, you know, is at home with whatever decision that the party makes. But ideologically, and I believe him, I verily believe him that ideologically, power belongs to the people. Power belongs to God, and He gives it to whoever He wants to give it. But on earth here, if we must practice democracy, we must respect the people. If you write politics and minus the people, what you get is self. You understand? So I believe very strongly that how does it make you feel if you exercise your franchise to elect whoever is your choice? How does that make you feel? You can now either choose to appropriate his successes. You won't distance yourself from his successes and his failure. And so, if you're going to a major and a critical election like we're going into, it would be nice. You may not be able to have everybody on board, but let me tell you something. It helps you a whole lot if you have a right and sizable number of party faithfuls on that boat with you. What I would have expected going into these elections and these primaries would have been, oh, okay, you are interested. Oh, you are interested. Oh, you are interested. And there's no doubt about it. As presently constructed, the governors are the leaders of the party. Even though it wasn't like that, it's an aberration today. You know, but you know, it is what it is. You know, so if the governor had to say, okay, all right, there are 6 people on the ballot who have expressed interest, and the governor, conscious of the fact that we have irreducible minimum quotient on character quotient, credibility quotient, and all of those things. I will put the matrix on the table. Everybody will know that, oh, this man, we won't take him. Oh, this man, we won't take him. And it doesn't mean that everybody that's a member of APC must be a part of that decision. I went to the House of Representatives to represent a constituency. My leadership responsibility did not terminate the day I left the parliament. And so what I'm doing today also is in tandem with the obligation that I have inherent in the retrospective value of the position I once had. So today, some people still look at me and say, oh, okay, fine, what is Bimbo saying? I must be conscious of the fact that I don't want to lead them astray. The Bible clearly guides us on that path. You
have to interpret.
All right, fine. The Bible says that if any of you leaders refuse to show that he is mindful of his position, his leadership position, and misleads any of these young ones, it would have been better for you to have a millstone around your neck and cast into the sea.
So when you say that the establishment has a candidate, what then is your candidate's chances? I mean, what are your candidate's chances? Because the indication is that, the governor has the party structure, and anyone he backs is likely going to emerge victorious.
Well, and I'm not saying this dejectedly. I'm inspired by the kind of credential that Michael Okoyemi Bamidele parades. And it's a pride to us. It's a pride to us, the Ekiti State, to have a man who has such a rich credential, and is bringing that to the table. Make no mistakes about it. To move Ekiti State forward will be a combination of so many factors. Out of those factors, you find character, you find competence, you find capacity. I'll give you a very simple example, because some naysayers keep saying that he needs to speak about his gunshot experience to be able to win election. That is the farthest consideration. That's the farthest point for us. Whoever is saying that should contend with the fact that this guy was in government in Lagos State for 12 years unbroken. And I'm not talking about just 12 years. I'm talking about 12 years unbroken. And for an individual to be in the government of Lagos State, which is the signpost administration, you would be worth your mettle. You cannot retain your seat in the cabinet of Lagos State by reason of familiarity. You must have earned it. And of course, we can see a plethora of things that he did as a former commissioner, as a former special advisor. And then from that, he goes to House of Representatives and brings to within 356 potentials, opportunities, and prospects. And right now, as I speak today, is in the Senate. And he also the next governor of Ekiti State would need more than just casualizing it. The language of the 21st century is how much of very tangible prospective relationships that you have, that you can leverage on strategic linkages. That is the language of, you must have heard about sister city arrangements. As we speak today, if you're not known, you cannot access value. If you need to introduce yourself, oh, I am this and that. Okay, fine. Somebody shows up in this room today, and okay, fine. Let's go very graphic. Iraji Fashola enters into this room, and he says, "Oh, Nife, what's up?" And he says, "Who is this man? I think I know this man. Who is likely to get something for us in our interest between me and you?" And you cannot take that away. This man parades all of these guys as people who were in cabinet with him at different times. And so if he has human resources, is the most tangible, most viable, most respected resource that anybody can have, not even money. When you have capacity to harvest and distill from your relationships, then money comes in.
So we have to go now.
Yes, and in our state, particularly as we go forward, you will need such relationships to make things happen.
I'm just going to ask you one more question for the records.
All right, sir.
So the primary election is in 10 days. and you are the Director General of the Bamdele Okoye.
I'm not the Director General.
That's what they're calling you on the
No. I think some people just feel that it's Prince Akin Olaisade, Prince Akin Olaisade.
Okay.
That's the DJ of the campaigns. Well, I'm somebody who...
You're a stakeholder.
Yes, and only last week I just brought all of my
your structure.
I mean, followers, and for good reasons. I will never lie to Ekiti people.
But we have to go now.
All right.
What if it doesn't go the way of your candidate? Will you still stay with the APC?
Of course, yes. If the person who wins fair and square. And I'm not adding that caveat. I'm just saying that it would make a lot of sense, because after primary election, we got the general election to face. And so we must leave the realities of the fact that if we screw up, permit my words, screw up the primaries, we'll have to contend with people that you cannot rein in by amount of money.
And you will have quite a number of people to contend with as well. Former Secretary to the State Government, Biodun Oyebamji.
He's also my friend as well.
Senator Opeyemi Bamdele, of course, your man, Senator Dayo Adeyeye.
Yes.
There's also Femi Bamishile and quite a number of other people. Bamdele Faparusis also has thrown his heart into the ring. I must say a big thank you, Congressman, for finding time to come.
Thank you very much.
I wish you all the best. We'll have this conversation again in 10 days' time.
Yes.
Where we see how things...
By the grace of God, in 10 days from today, I expect by the grace of God, because this man puts God at the center of his activities. This is a man who is conscious of the fact that if we were not for God, I wouldn't even be standing for election. And the people realize that. And that's why they're going to put him in that position, because we need a governor who has the fear of God.
Bimbo Daramola, former House of Reps member, thank you again for finding time to come.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
That's our show today. We'll continue tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. God bless Nigeria.